People, as you know, attack our wonderful new king, King Charles III. But truly, well, he plays down his sort of intelligence, perhaps, in public, where he's seen as jolly, fun, and very much connectable to the people that he meets. Truly, he is no slouch, let me tell you. And according to a very good source, he spotted exactly what the problem was with Meghan Markle very early on in the relationship. But there was a turning point, and according to a very good source, this was it. Morning, Neil. Sean here in the very heart of London. Thank you so much for joining me today. This story, as I say, is fascinating in itself. And also, can I just point out and thank you for your kind comments about that recent story regarding the Royal Mail royal fail, as we dubbed it, you know. Institution, 500 years old, but seemingly on the brink of disaster, all brought down, of course, by people demanding more money. Some people might say, rightly so. Others might say, well, you know, in this very competitive world, as we've told you before, with the likes of FedEx and all sorts of other delivery services, it doesn't necessarily have the power. Would be a shame if it was lost forever though, wouldn't it, you know? Particularly as they bring out those wonderful stamps that they have just done with King Charles on, which I think come out in the later part of this coming year. Can't believe it, can you? We're in another year already. But this particular story I find fascinating because, as I often say, King Charles gets a bit of a bad rap, you know. He's seen as a little bit light, you know, a little bit fluffy, and doesn't necessarily notice things. Don't let that demeanor fool you, you know. This is a man who's waited 70 years to ascend the throne, and of course lots of people are looking forward to that particular moment. Obviously, we're still reading from the sad loss of our wonderful monarch, but you know, as she said, in the fullness of time, life goes on. But it was this particular point, you know, as we saw with Meghan Markle, he tried to build a relationship with her, generous, kind enough to actually walk her down the aisle. And one would suggest, when you think about it, such generosity should have been paid back in spades. How they've paid him back? By demonizing his, you know, family, basically claiming that senior members of the monarchy are racist. You just could go on. We all know the stories. And that really kind of baffled the king, as you can imagine. He didn't understand really why they were attacking him and the family, because he'd always been open, you know, said, if there's anything concerning you, bothering you, just come along and see me personally. And he thought he got on incredibly well with her. But there was this turning point for him, which was highlighted by a senior aide within the royal family. As you know, Jason North was the man that was the central part of making sure, at least, that Meghan Markle was exposed as being, at best, and we're being kind here, forgetful, right? Because if you recall, she forgot she assisted with that trashy tabloid book, which she claimed she'd had nothing to do with, as did, of course, the king's youngest son, Prince Harry. All denied it, including the authors. So they're all basically outright liars, which way you look at it, you know. But what's interesting here is, according to that source, this was the turning point, the point where King Charles thought, well, hang on a minute, you know, up until that point, he was off really sort of ready to give people the benefit of the doubt. He does see the good in people, as I say, you know, he's got a kind heart. So the bottom line was, when it was given as sort of, you know, proof, there you go, they did assist with the book, then even though he'd had that conversation with Meghan and asked allegedly, personally, directly to her, and she said no, well, really, where did the relationship go from there? And that must really irk Meghan, even as a narcissist. It must be very difficult, because he very swiftly, adeptly trapped her. And then, of course, this gave him the reason to decide exactly how he was going to move forward in his ongoing relationship with the very difficult new Duchess. So whichever way you look at it, do not write off King Charles III. He truly is no slouch. And more importantly, very early on, he very quickly realised exactly what he was dealing with the Duchess, who he deemed incredibly difficult after that. Neil Sean in the very heart of London.